Welcome to Nickel City Mafia, where we talk all things Buffalo and then some. I'm Mike Thornton. That's Jake Podger. We're going to get into Week 5 between the Steelers and the Buffalo Bills in Orchard Park today. First, before we get into that, Jake, how you doing? I already see you're getting started.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. So I took a little early morning trip this morning, Mike, and just got to see a little bit of traffic. Got to see the people out and about, everyone wearing their Bills gear, and it's just great. I mean, football's back in Buffalo. It's been a minute. I mean, our last home game was week 2 on Monday night. So it's kind of crazy. We've had 3 away games in the first 4 games of the season, so it's nice to be back home and. We got a 1:00 start, and things are sort of back to normal, which, I don't know if I like the normal stuff because when you're in the primetime slot, obviously you're more highly regarded, but this should be a good one. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, we got plenty of more primetime games ahead of us.
Oh, yeah.
So all good stuff there. I kind of like going back to the norm for a little bit. It was a little crazy up front. But I have to ask you, in the opening song that we play, have you started to pick up some of the lyrics at all?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I have it playing in my head, usually even after the fact, after the show and stuff. Sometimes you're in the shower and you have the song coming to mind. You're getting ready for the show. You hear the song in your head. So, oh, yeah, starting to pick it up.
Awesome. Well, listen, so as the title says, I'm a little concerned, Jake, and we're going to talk all the details about this game, but I'm a little concerned that this could potentially be a trap game. Let me throw some ideas out there, throw some reasons why I think that is. So last year, do you remember the last time we were 14.5-point favorites and we played a rookie quarterback?
Yeah.
Wasn't that long ago. It was last year against the Jaguars.
Yep.
And we lost 9-6. Don't know what happened. That was such an ugly game. But on any given Sunday, something can happen. We were 6.5-point favorites against the Steelers opening day in Buffalo last year. And, it was before I had you on the show, but I had Troy joining me, and he and I were both like, there's no way we lose this game. We got an aging Roethlisberger. The Bills were on the rise. No way we lose this game. They come into town, and they beat us. Just shocked us. And then Mike Tomlin, he's never had a losing season. This could be his first. He's not off to a good start, but it's a well-coached team. He knows how to get his team up. And then there's more injuries coming into play, which we're going to get into here shortly. And, of course, we have the Chiefs coming up the following week. So I'm always concerned. I'm hoping that they're focused on one game at a time. But we saw last year a couple times that wasn't the case. Do you have any what's your thoughts on that? Are you with me there a little bit?
It's any given Sunday, first off. You don't want to take any team for granted. We saw what happened last year against Jacksonville. It was like a big wake-up call, and I think we started hitting the panic button, so we don't want that to happen. And I think the players are pretty well grounded. And on top of that, it's almost a good thing. Like, this sounds bad, but it's almost a good thing that we have so many injuries like this, because I feel like Josh and the rest of the team, they probably are going to feel like they need to play above and beyond just because there's so many guys that are going to be out today. So I feel like, in a way, it'll be a great test, first off, because I think we're going to see a lot of what we're going to get with this 2022 rookie draft class, with Khalil Shakir playing, probably a little bit of Terrell Bernard, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit too, Mike, later on. So I think it's a good thing in a way, because it's like it's almost humbling, and you can see how fast a team can get depleted, but we've rose to the occasion all season with all these injuries. So I feel pretty good about us still winning this game. And I think this team is different than last year. I think there's, we've come out sleeping a couple of these games, but we've always finished. And that's something we've seemed to struggle with in the past, but we've finished every single game, minus the Dolphins game. But we were close. I mean, we had the opportunity. We were there. We were in position. So I just think there's such a difference from this team, this year's team, to last year's team, that I'm not too worried. I do think, obviously, any given Sunday, any game can be a trap game. We don't have a whole lot of film on Kenny Two Gloves, so it'll be really intriguing to see how he tries to push the ball downfield and if that becomes a problem for us. But I'm pumped, and I can't wait. It's going to be a fun matchup for sure. I don't like the 14.5-point spread, though. I will say I don't know. I think the Steelers are going to hang around a little bit.
I think so too, and you'll see that reflected in my prediction later on. I do want to say, Slinky, good to see you out there. And before we get into the injuries, let's answer Slinky's question, because I saw that becoming a buzz this week again. Should we sign OBJ with our banged up receiving core? And Von Miller really wants him. Obviously, you see that all over social media. Your thoughts on that, Jake?
I don't know. The thing is, like, I love like OBJ is great. He was phenomenal with the Giants. He was decent with the Browns. He was pretty good last year with the Rams. But I just like there's something, I feel like a lot of people think we're going to get the Odell Beckham from New York. And I just don't see that. Like, yeah, he's probably a day one contributor, but is he going to be that much of a factor, like where he alters this team and becomes a 1,400-yard receiver again? I don't see that at all. Like, he's coming off a major league injury. He's probably not going to even be available until at least midway through the year. So I just don't think I know Vaughn wants him, and Vaughn's basically guaranteeing that we do sign him for the playoffs. Obviously, I'll take all the help we can get. I think it's a good thing to have a veteran guy like that. But do I think he's going to be like an insane contributor that goes for 100 yards every game? I don't think he's even close to that. I think, he'll make a tough catch on third down, which is huge, which I think that could be invaluable. But do we sign him and then kind of alter our chemistry? And we got guys like Khalil Shakir coming up and playing above their draft grade too. I don't know. I just don't think I'm not really for it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know. I had that same take early on. I'm like, no way. When we were healthy, I'm like, no way. I don't want to change the chemistry that's going on, that's been developed. But with all these injuries, I'm changing my mind a little bit. I'd be okay with it. Again, he's going to have to know his role. What is that role? Is he a starter? No, I don't think so. I think Gabe Davis is still number 2. So I don't know. There have to be some conversations and him understanding what that role might be. He's not going to come in day one and be a starter for us. He'll be that, that situational player that comes in on third down when we need to play, or if we do have injuries in front of him. So I don't know, Jake. I'm a little torn on it now. My stance early on was absolutely no way.
Yeah.
Now I'm like changing that a little bit. So we'll see. I think
you just have to alter your expectations too. I think a lot of people are excited. They know about his past stardom and how he sort of, made this great career as a Giant. And even with the Browns, he still had a 1,000-yard season. But and last year he played well. He did a great job. He scored a lot of touchdowns for the Rams last year. But I just think you need to be realistic too. Like, it's not going to be the Odell Beckham from 2014 that we're getting here. It's going to be, an older, wiser, which is a good thing. You want that veteran presence in your locker room, but is he going to be the explosive receiver he once was? I don't think he is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see how that plays out for sure. I know Vaughn wants him. I definitely want to keep Vaughn happy for sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I'll take him. Like I said, I will take him for sure, but know that it's not going to be like this immediate thing where he's going to come out and just go off.
Right. Exactly. Totally agree with you. We got Red, White, and Bills out there. He says, if we can't beat this team by 2 touchdowns, it's a problem. What does he see? I think so with OBJ. We don't have a number 2. We got Kenny Moriarty. I think I said that right. How you doing out there? And again, I always forget to say this. If you're new to the channel, please like, comment, and drop a nickel on our subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. We got Jane out there as well. Let's go. Yes. Let's get into the injury report. And this is
we got our guy, by the way, back behind me. I don't know if you can see it, Brian Dable.
I see Dable. Yep. Are they at halftime right now?
Yeah, it's halftime. It looks like they're just going over a little interview here. Oh, they're just starting the second half.
What's the score there?
We got 20-10 Packers over the Giants.
All right. Well, let's get into the injury report here because this is another concern. I feel like, are they resting players just because they're looking past the Steelers, or are they resting players because they're truly, truly hurt? Now, I know they're hurt, but you know what I mean. So, for instance, Jordan Phillips and Ed Oliver. Now, Ed Oliver has been questionable since week 2. And every time we think he's going to be in there, he's not. And he's dealing with an ankle, whereas Jordan Phillips is dealing with a hamstring. My guess is that one of these will be out. I don't think they're both active, Jake. I don't know if you've heard anything different. To me, they're probably both going to be out. But
yeah.
Have you heard anything different?
No, I haven't. I think you're going to sit both of them. I think that's the plan, it seems like. For me, we have so much depth there, and I think Daquan Jones has obviously done a tremendous job, and then we have a guy like Tim Settle who can come in and disrupt. So I'm good with it. Boogie Basham even getting in the mix a little bit too. He could play all over. I mean, we have so many guys. And how about this, Mike? I got to mention it. We signed Justin Zimmer to the practice squad. All hustle player. Freaking love it. I mean, I'm pumped to have him back too. Yeah. So I am a little, I will say I was a little surprised that we cut Prince Emili, but obviously it was for the reason to bring Justin Zimmer back. And then we had another guy, CJ Brewer. I thought we cut him too. And Brandon Bryant, he's been playing really good ball too. I mean, he took 3 blockers away on that Ravens play last week. I don't know if you saw that. That was incredible. I mean, just helping Matt Milano make that one stop. It was, I've been very impressed with his play too.
Well, you might be a little disappointed in the slide I show you afterwards, talking about him. So Tremaine Edmonds showed up on the injury report. He did not practice all week. He's questionable to play. If it's a hamstring, we saw this last year with Edmonds, and he missed at least a game or two with that. So if he didn't practice all week, I'm not expecting him to play either, which is disappointing. Again, more reason why I have a concern here. Isaiah McKenzie, with the concussion that we saw last week, I'd actually be shocked if they haven't played Jake. I really would. I don't know what your take is with the concussions under the microscope like they are right now.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd be shocked.
I would say probably not, but it was interesting. So every Friday, Mike, the Bills post they're doing this boy band thing with Deion Dawkins, Isaiah McKenzie, and a couple other guys. And Isaiah was rocking the air guitar on the hockey stick. So I don't know. I mean, does that mean he's healthy? Like, if he's doing that, if he feels good enough to do that, I mean, obviously you're playing a football game, which is totally different than just sitting there playing the air guitar. But he seemed like he was bobbing his head a little bit. So, maybe that points to him potentially playing. But I would be pretty surprised, too, to see him out there, especially with Khalil Shakir. I really think he can do a lot for us. And it's not the same as Isaiah McKenzie, but I think he does offer pretty good value today. And I'll tell you what, I'm betting the over on his receiving yards. I think it's set at like 20-something. So I'm taking the over.
All right. So, and then Benford, as we know, is out for 3 to 6 weeks. I don't think we see Benford until after the bye, honestly. Jake Kumaro, he's week to week. He's out. Jordan Poyer, another surprise, was out. We thought he was okay last week, but it turns out that his ribs were banged up. So he's out again, which, again, more reasons why. Is this a trap game? I'm getting more and more concerned. And then Dawson Knox. Now, Dawson Knox has been dealing with that foot, all year. It started in week 1, and it seems like he's always dealing with it week to week. So they're giving him the week off. Why this week? I don't know. Yeah. Interesting. So let me move on here to the next slide. So some roster moves by the Bills. They elevated wide receiver Tanner Gentry and linebacker Joe Giles Harris from the practice squad. That's big. Obviously, again, that's kind of leading me to believe that Tremaine Edmonds may not be in this week. And then Tanner Gentry, just because of our depleted wide receiver classroom there. So then we signed. This is kind of good news, kind of big news for a lot of people. We signed wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins and defensive back Jamarcus Ingram to the 53-man roster. Congratulations. Congratulations. A lot of folks were so upset when the initial 53-man roster cuts were in and when we released Isaiah. They were happy to see that we got him back in the practice squad. So here he is, Jake. He's going to I expect to see him in some plays today. I don't know what you think. Now, we'll have to see whether he's active, but I have to think he's going to be active, right? He has to be active.
Yeah, I think so. He'll be out there. There's no doubt.
Your thoughts on him? The only knock that I've ever heard on him is his blocking ability, which is strange because he's a bigger receiver. So your thoughts on Isaiah Hodgins?
Yeah, my thoughts are that he's going to be on the field, definitely playing specials at the very least. But I think there's going to be different packages for him. And if they want to fill him in, basically offering what Jake Kumaro did as a blocker, that's a point where a lot of people have sort of got on him about because he's not necessarily the physical guy that Jake Kumaro is in the blocking game. So that's somewhere where he's going to have to step up a little bit. I think as a receiver, he catches everything you throw to him, and he can be a reliable guy. So maybe on like those little out routes, those short third down plays, maybe you run a heavier package, have him in there. So I think he can offer you a little bit there in terms of, being that reliable guy who can catch the ball on third and short. But I think, certainly going to have to improve in the blocking game, and special teams is going to be huge for him because that's a big role to fill. Jake Kumaro and obviously Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane, they preach the special teams game. So they need him to step up.
Yeah. I also thought it was interesting. So Jamarcus Ingram, who was a couple games ago when Benford went out, and they actually brought him in as a corner instead of Cam Lewis. And now here he is being signed to the 53-man roster. Again, that he could probably play maybe safety. I don't know what their thoughts are there. What's your initial take with this particular signing here?
It's interesting. I mean, he's sort of bounced around a little bit. Like, I feel like he can be a good player. is he, starter worthy or anything like that? No, I think he's more of a role guy, but he's kind of bounced around the league a little bit. He was an undrafted free agent, and I think he was he with another team before us or no? No, it was just this year, actually. Never mind. I'm sorry. I'm getting him confused with someone else. So, yeah, no, actually, it's only been with the Bills for him. I'm thinking of one of the other guys that we had. I'm getting him confused. But anyways, yeah, I mean, another undrafted guy and a guy that we're looking to hopefully develop. I mean, it's interesting. And the best part is University of Buffalo guy, local guys. So I have a little bit of a rooting interest for him. So I really do hope he plays well. And it's interesting, Cam Lewis, also University of Buffalo guy. And for Jamarcus Ingram to come in over him, I mean, it definitely says something about the ability that he offers. And he's a bigger guy. He's 6'2", 190. So maybe they just feel he's a better fit for the scheme. I don't know what it is, but how about it to the 53 man? That's huge.
Yeah, so congrats to both of them. Jamison Crowder placed on IR. They released Brandon Bryant. Now, you might want to fact check me because you obviously are surprised by this based on what you're saying. So fact check that. I heard that from Matt Perino on their show yesterday, and I also looked it up on the web. So just double check. But yes, it looks like they released him. And they signed defensive tackle Eli Anku to the practice squad.
Wow. Wait a minute. They did? Holy, how did I miss that one? How did that one slide by?
Yeah, so I think what's going to happen there is, hopefully he gets signed back to the practice squad. Hopefully. But after his few games, who knows? Somebody else.
What the heck?
I
mean, that was a huge. I mean, I thought he was playing
right.
Amazing.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Shocker, absolute shocker. We got Christopher out there saying good morning, Bills Mafia. Yes, like I already said hi to Jane. Good to see you. Jason Collard out there. Nickel City Mafia, rocking facts and stats. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a little behind. I'm a little slow. This weekend was kind of a bender for me. As I was mentioning to Mike before this, we had a wedding last night, day before, kind of low key, but had some issues down here in the basement, Mike. We had a little flood down here because our utility sink overflowed. So on the other side, luckily it didn't come on this side where all my TVs are. It was on the other side. But, it's always something. It's always something. They say you want to be a homeowner and then stuff like that happens. So here we are. But I'm a little behind. I should have known better.
Well, I got you covered. You got me covered sometimes.
That's
I cover you sometimes. I feel like that you had a flood last year in the basement.
I did. Yeah,
right?
same deal. But that was for a different reason. It was just because the power went out and our sump pump overflowed. But you just never know in Buffalo. Never know what type of weather you're going to get.
So talk to me a little bit. We kind of passed over him, but talk to me about Tanner Gentry and Joe Giles Harris, linebacker there.
Yeah. Well, first off, Tanner Gentry is Josh Allen's BFF. They both played at Wyoming together. He's been, elevated, released, back to the practice squad, cut again. He's had quite a journey. And do I think he's going to contribute a ton? Probably not. He's going to be a special teams guy for sure. I think Isaiah Hodgins has a much better outlook in terms of contributing on the offensive side of the ball. But it's, I'm happy for him just because he's been in the system for so long. And I feel like he's been on our practice squad, back and forth over the last few years. So it's been a crazy journey for him. So I'm happy for him for just being elevated up. And obviously it's for the injury reasons. We have so many guys going down. And that also makes me think probably Isaiah McKenzie not going to play today just because you elevate a guy like that, you're basically just elevating him for depth. It's not going to be anything crazy. He will play specials a little bit, but yeah, definitely can see Isaiah probably sitting this one out just for that reason alone. And then Joe Giles Harris, I mean, he was tremendous in the preseason. He played a hell of a 3 games for us. He had a great stretch, very hard hitter, like very aggressive downhill type of guy, and a guy that's definitely shown some promise. So I'm excited to have him. And that also, again, due to injuries, you think Tremaine Edmonds, he's probably going to be out just because of that.
Now, on the depth chart, they show Bernard being a middle linebacker, but I just feel the guy's too small to play middle linebacker, Jake. I don't know what your thoughts are there.
Well, we play a scheme where you don't necessarily have to have a, one of those old school, bigger, more stocky middle linebackers. We play 2 linebackers. So Matt Milano and then whoever, it'll probably be Terrell Bernard. And the nice part about Terrell Bernard, I think he can offer you what we talked a little bit about this when we drafted him. You can almost have him go in and do some of those delayed blitzes. He was really good at doing that at Baylor. He's decent in coverage, although he hasn't really shown it at this level. So it'll be really interesting to see how we use him. I would love to see us send him on a couple blitzes. He almost offers you like that fifth type of pass rusher type of, that's the type of player he is. So he could definitely get in there and wreak some havoc. So I'm very curious to see if we do anything like that.
All right, interesting. All right, let's move on to the Steelers. So they have some injuries of their own. Obviously, most folks know TJ Watt's out. There was some updated news. He actually underwent arthroscopic knee injury recently, which will delay his potential return by at least a week. He wasn't expected to be back this week anyhow, but now it looks like he might extend, be out another additional week at the very least. This is big news in their secondary. Safety Terrell Edmonds, brother of Jermaine Edmonds, is out. So we could have both the brothers out today, which is big for them in their secondary. And they have Cameron Sutton, their cornerback, is questionable. And let's see if I can get this gentleman's name
Witherspoon.
right. Akello Witherspoon. He is their starting corner. He's
good.
out, and he is out. So that's big as well. So their secondary banged up a little bit like our secondary. It's going to be interesting. I have one of my key matchups. I'll save it for a little bit later because we know one of the corners that's going to be playing for Pittsburgh today. We know him very well, as a matter of fact. Let's move on here to weather report today. Jake, it's perfect football weather, a little bit windy, but roughly around 56 degrees today. A little bit of wind out there, 17 miles per hour. Nothing Josh Allen can't handle.
That's right.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about Kenny Pickett here in a little bit because you're going to have to fill us in. We don't have much film on Kenny. You're going to have to tell us what you saw in college, but we'll get there in just a little. On the offensive side, you can see the Steelers, right? They're averaging 18.5 points per game, 2 passing touchdowns. That's all they've had with Mitch. Poor Mitch. I really thought Mitch was going to go over to Pittsburgh, have a fresh start, and it just didn't work out. And now we got Kenny Pickett starting. Now, Kenny Pickett came in relief last week and threw 3 interceptions, no touchdown passes. But again, when you come in for relief and you haven't game planned all week, it's a little hard.
I don't fault him for all of those either. I really don't.
Exactly. Yeah. They're averaging 181.5 passing yards per game and 97.3 rushing yards per game, which is a surprise to me because there's a reason they drafted Najee Harris. Very, very good running back. I think he's going to get used extensively today. On the Bills side, obviously, we've been putting up points. We got 28.5 points per game. That's ranked 4th in the league. We got 10 passing touchdowns from our guy, Josh Allen. That's ranked 4th. We got 297 yards passing per game, and then we average 115.5 rushing yards per game. We're ranked number 11. We have no issue with our running game. What's everyone talking about here, Jake?
That is inflated. Big time.
That is inflated. The problem is Josh Allen is our leading rusher. We cannot continue to have that. We'll talk about that as well in a little bit. So on the offense, Jake, I mean, again, right away off the top of your head, you're like, yeah, we should be able to win this quite handily. But due to injuries, I think this is going to be closer than what those numbers are showing. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, when you have guys, you're going down to your, practice squatters and elevating them. I mean, obviously that's a big deal. You have so much depth that we talked about, Mike, but even our depth guys are getting injured. So it is going to be a test for us, and I think it's going to be a close game, and it could be one of those trap games. I do think we pull out with a big win, but it's not going to be that 14.5-point spread that everyone has projected right now. It's insane that they still have us as 14.5-point favorites. I don't know if that line's moved at all since. So it's very, very interesting to say the least.
I think if they announce, I would have to think that number came down to at least 14. They're not giving they're not going to give you the half, I don't think, any longer, but I'd be shocked. Yeah. You're saying there. On the defensive side of the ball, I mean, the Steelers are giving up 22.5 points. Remember, this is without TJ Watt. If TJ Watt was in this game, again, another reason I'd be super concerned. They're giving up 383 total yards per game, which is 24th in the league. They're giving up 251.5 passing yards per game, which is 21st. And they're giving up 131.5 rushing yards per game, which is ranked 24th. So, again, opportunities there that we can take advantage of. We already mentioned that they're starting corners out, they're starting safeties out. So Josh should be able to have his way with that secondary. But again, every time we think that, like I thought that last week against Baltimore, and it took him a while to start taking advantage of that. Rushing yards per game. I mean, come on, if this is going to be a game that we get somebody going in the run game. Please, Devin Singletary, please step up. Let's go. Offensive line, please step up.
Right.
On the Bills side of the ball, we're only giving up 14.5 points per game. That's ranked second. We're giving up 234.5 total yards per game. That's tied for first with the Niners. We're giving up 150.8 passing yards per game. That's number one. And then we're only giving up 83.8 rushing yards per game, ranked third. That's actually shocking, Jake, when you consider all the injuries we've had. We haven't even had our two best interior defensive linemen available for 3 to 4 games. This is insane when you think about the rookies that we got out there, the youngsters that we got out there in the secondary. What do you chalk this up? How is this happening, Jake? How?
I just think these guys are, I mean, the way that we scheme it, credit to Leslie Frazier, first off. I think he's done an amazing job. And we've been running a little bit of, we've kind of tricked that O-line a few times, for the opposing team, whether it's Boogie Basham getting in there. I mean, we've been running some stunts. I think Von Miller has brought so much energy to our defensive line. It just makes everyone that much better. Like, it's crazy what a guy like that can do for your team. And we've seen it. I mean, it's all full circle right now. And every single guy on that D-line has shined in one way or the other. So it's really impressive, to say the least. And I just expect to keep it going, and I think that's why we're just so damn good. I mean, we have those interior guys. We have our edge guys getting pressure. Greg Rousseau has been a man possessed. Our interior guys, again, I mean, whoever you put out there, whether it's Daquan Jones, whether it's Brandon Bryant, Brandon Bryant, he's gone. Rest in peace. Love him. But, man, hopefully we bring him back. I just think there's so many pieces for this defensive line that, we have the depth. We have the guys that can come in that offer that same value as a normal starter would. And it's amazing. I love what we're doing there. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, you got to give Frazier a lot of credit. And I do agree with you. I think we talked about this earlier in the year. That defensive front can make everybody behind them look that much better.
Yeah.
And they have. I mean, every dollar we spent on Von Miller is just paying dividends every game. So not only for what he's doing, what he's teaching the younger guys there, and they're bringing it, and again, helping the folks that are new to the game in the secondary. So this is incredible to me. And just think, we're going to get healthier throughout the year, and these numbers are, and we're playing. It's not like last year, Jake, where we had a soft schedule early on. We really did. This is not a soft schedule at all. The first 7 games of this year, I mean, you can argue maybe this one, but other than that, all 6 of the first 7 games are against playoff contenders for sure.
And even so, I mean, the Steelers are still a very well-coached team. Mike Tomlin thrives in these situations where he's painted as this underdog. So I definitely expect them to show up, and I don't think they're going to go down easy. I really don't.
I totally agree. I even heard Pickett was saying, look, everyone sees us as underdogs. We don't see ourselves as underdogs. So, again, kind of, for a rookie to be saying that, speaking up, shows some leadership, being that he's such a young guy. So, good stuff there. I do want to say hi to my dad out there, Bill, joining out there. Says he's been on for a while, just listening. Red, White, and Bills says, hard to see it being close. We shall see. And then, of course, this Uncle Jay, what do you think about? What do you guys think of Ken Dorsey?
I love him. I have been a little underwhelmed, I guess, as of late, though, just in terms of what his play calling was like last week. I think he's sort of just taking what the defense gives him, and he hasn't really drawn up anything too crazy or fancy or anything like that. I mean, we're getting the job done. And when you have a guy like Josh Allen, I think he gives you a chance to win every single game. But I would like to see a little more creativity. He was kind of showcasing that a little bit right off the bat in that Rams game, and then it sort of died down ever since. So, and I know we've been, smacking teams, but the last 2 weeks we really haven't been, and I think that's sort of been why, there's just a lack of creativity offensively right now. That's the only critique I probably have for the guy. I think he's done a good job of playing, calling the right plays and calling plays that make sense and just basically get us through the game and get us the win. But I would like to see a little bit more from him.
Okay. I am going to talk to you about someone else, not Dorsey, someone that I feel like I went into a car dealership and I was suckered into buying something that I shouldn't have. And your guy, Aaron Cromer, that you've just been talking about, Talk to me about what's going on there. I mean, you sold me big time on that guy, and
Hmm.
that offensive line, honestly, Jake, they don't look any different than they did last year, and that's with the addition of Saffold. So for me, I think Dorsey's doing a fine job. Where I'm more worried about is what Aaron Cromer's been doing for us. Thoughts on that? Because you sold me,
Yeah, yeah,
and I'm like regretting it now, regretting buying that.
yeah. I just think it's a lack of like execution up front. There's just for whatever reason we're not getting push. We're not getting to the second level as well. We do terrible against a light box. Can't even run the ball on that. I mean, it's just I don't really understand it. And yeah, I mean, I was super pumped about Aaron Cromer. I mean, I was beating my chest about the signing. I sold you big time on it, Mike, and I'm sure you were getting excited too. But yeah, I don't think he's a bad coach. I just think we're not, for whatever reason, the guys are just not playing to their highest level. It just doesn't make sense to me, and we got to figure it out because down the stretch here, it's only going to get harder.
Yeah, totally agree. I do want to mention just some. We went through the offensive comparisons. I forgot to ask you, and I want to talk about that now. So obviously,
Yeah,
we mentioned Kenny Pickett is the starter. We don't have much game film. Talk to him. I know you've watched him in college. Talk to
yeah.
us a little bit about Kenny Pickett. What kind of player is he? What can we expect to see from him?
He's physical. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Josh Allen, obviously not as big, but he likes to take shots downfield. He's your natural gunslinger. He set all the passing records at Pitt. He broke Dan Marino's passing record there. And the development for him from 2020 to 2021 was insane. He went from like 11 touchdowns or 13 touchdowns, 11 picks or something like that to 42 touchdowns, 7 picks.
Yeah, I
And
saw
I get
that.
it. It's just a college game, but like
Yeah.
the numbers, the change for him was unbelievable. And I think that's ultimately what made him a Heisman candidate and a first round pick. And I think the Steelers wanted to take a shot on a guy like that instead of a guy that was just dink and dunk. And from what they were getting with Ben Roethlisberger the last few years, as he's getting older, he wasn't really pushing the ball downfield. And that's something that Kenny Two Gloves offers you. So, and it's such a change from Mitchell to him because Mitchell, I saw something. It was like he was only averaging 5.2 yards per pass attempt, which I mean, that's the lowest in the NFL, and that's kind of disgraceful. You look at Kenny Pickett last week, I think he averaged 9 point something yards per attempt, which would have ranked him first in the NFL. And then on top of that, his receivers were averaging 12 yards a catch. So 12 yards of completion is pretty damn good. He was trying to push the ball downfield, trying to give them a chance. And there were a couple contested balls, the one to Chase Claypool, that wasn't even his fault as an interception. His only incompletions were 3 interceptions. And those were just a fact of him trying to make a big play. So I think he gives that offense a little bit of a spark. And with teams not having as much film on him, I think he could definitely be a problem, And I like him. I think he's a competitor and he's a tough, gutsy guy that is willing to kind of put his body on the line. I mean, I don't know if you remember too, the fake slide came into play last year with him at Pitt. That was pretty hilarious to watch. But yeah, I think for him, it's just a matter of going out there, competing, pushing the ball downfield, which I think, if he gets enough time, we can struggle a little bit, especially with the loss of Jordan Poyer today and in the middle of the field with potentially Tremaine Edmonds too. They're saying Pat Fryermuth is probably going to go off today because that middle of the field should be hypothetically wide open. So yeah, it'll be really, really fun to watch, I think.
I like what Uncle Jay says. He says, Mike, don't feel bad. Jake could sell Eskimos ice.
I love that. I love that. Well, I appreciate that, Uncle Jay. I don't know. I mean, I consider myself to be slightly persuasive. The only one that doesn't buy my crap is my wife.
So a couple other things on offense. They also had second round pick George Pickens, who I really liked from the University of Georgia. He's playing for them. He's a starter. He's been doing quite well. He's not their leading receiver, which is who you just mentioned, which is Pat Fryermuth. He's a leading receiver with 223 yards. So yeah, and then they also have Deontay Johnson. So they have a lot of good skilled positions around Kenny Pickett. You might have mentioned it. Maybe I missed it because I'm trying to keep everything going here. Is Pickett mobile?
Yeah, he can get outside the pocket and he could take off a little bit. He's not like a burner by any means, but yeah, he's definitely an athletic player and he plays the game like a linebacker. So he's willing to take hits here and there.
Right. Okay. And I did also want to mention, so on the defensive comparisons, we showed that they're, kind of ranked near the bottom in a lot of stats, but they have no TJ Watt, as we know, keep that in mind. And by the way, we're going to get to see cornerback Levi Wallace today, but they have Alex Highsmith, who's got 5.5 sacks. He's been killing it this year. I feel like these really good edge rushers give us trouble, right? I think Dawkins is fine, but depending on where they're going to line up, Highsmith could give us a lot of trouble if it's over on the other side where Spencer Brown is, or whoever's on that right side. So we'll have to get some help over there if to help keep Highsmith at bay. And then let's just see here. I just wanted to just mention that the turnover ratio, differential is +2 for the Bills and +1 for the Steelers. So no one really killing it in the differential stat, although you would think so with all the picks that Poyer has by himself.
Yeah.
But we've given away almost as many as that we've taken away.
And then on top of that, you think of all the potential interceptions, the dropped interceptions that Matt Milano even had, and a couple other guys too.
Yeah. Well, there's some other two that we threw that, or I want to say Josh.
Yeah, right. It goes both ways.
It goes both ways
for sure.
Everyone's been a little harsh on Milano. He's saying that he's had a couple pick sixes, but there's a reason why Milano's not a wide receiver or a tight end.
Yep. That's why he's playing defense.
Exactly. Let's see here. So let's get into the key matchups that you're most interested in today, Jake, and then your paths to victory for both the Bills and for the Steelers.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned, we were just talking about Alex Highsmith. I mean, this guy leads the NFL in sacks. He's one of the better edge rushers in the league. He's only a third-year player. He came in a third-round pick out of the University of Charlotte, and I think there were pretty high hopes on him, but he was always a backup for the majority. He was more of a role guy, kind of coming in and out, and now he's finally got his chance to shine. Unfortunately for them, it's with the loss of T.J. Watt, but he's come in and filled in really well. He's going to give whoever it is, whether it's Deion Dawkins or Spencer Brown, I don't think Spencer Brown has a prayer against a guy like Alex Highsmith. So it'll be really interesting to see what side he lines up on. I think he's technically a left outside linebacker, which would place him on that right side. So that scares me a little bit at times, especially with Spencer Brown. He really has been struggling a little bit, so he needs to have a big day and step up. But he can wreak havoc, and if he gets in, I mean, we've seen what happens when you have a tough edge rusher. Even last season, I mean, we had guys like Harold Landry, a couple others, Melvin Ingram, prime example again.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge matchup for the Steelers, and something that I'm looking to see how we attack him, whether we double team him or if we bring in some help or whatever it is. We got to definitely make sure that we defend him. So I'm thinking our offensive line versus Alex Highsmith alone. And then you have another guy, Cameron Hayward. I mean, this is one of the best defensive linemen in the league, potential future Hall of Famer. That's how good this guy is. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's a big test, and the Steelers, for whatever reason, they always have a good defensive line and always a good linebacking unit. I don't care who it is. They always seem to find these guys, and it's amazing. It's throughout their entire history. I mean, you date it back to the 70s. I've never seen the Steelers without a premier linebacker. It's just premier linebacker or premier defensive lineman. It's amazing what they do year in and year out. So that's definitely a key matchup. I would say our O-line versus their pass rushers and their interior D-line, you can even say, too. So that's going to be huge for us. On top of that, just sticking with our offense, our receiving core versus their banged up secondary. I mean, they still have Minkah Fitzpatrick, and he is one of the best safeties in the league. He's a top 5 guy, in my opinion. He's had a really nice year again, and I think he's super underrated, does not get enough credit for how good he is. So that's going to be definitely a key matchup for them. Just making sure that he stays back, doesn't let anyone get deep on him. And he's like a center fielder, so he can make a play on the ball. He's very similar to Jordan Poyer in that sense. But I think you got to go to your guy, Stephon Diggs, all day, attack that secondary. Levi Wallace back home in Buffalo here. I'm really excited to see what that matchup looks like too. So I think we just fire offensively. And if we're going to win this game by that 14.5 point margin, it's going to be because our offense drops 40 points on them.
Okay. So let's talk about Levi a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the key matches I'm most interested in. He's obviously going to be going against either Gabe or Diggs. I don't know if they stick him on Diggs, honestly. Levi's not a starter for them. He isn't.
I know. Yeah. I was going to mention that. He was more of a role guy. He wasn't actually a number one, which is wild.
Right. So he's getting a chance here. And I have to think the expectations are high on, from the Steelers on him. They're like, look, you've played against these guys in practice for at least 2 years. Right. I know Levi's been with us longer, but Diggs for those 2 years, and then Gabe Davis really wasn't the starter until this year, but he's played these guys in practice. So I don't know how he's feeling, but he's got to be feeling some serious pressure because if that was me, I'm like, man, the expectation is I'm going to be able to make a difference today because I've practiced against these guys for 2 years. I know what they like to do. I know what Josh Allen likes to do. And man, whoever he gets, again, I don't think it's going to be Diggs, Jake. I think they'll put him on the number 2 receiver. Because he's not really the starter. I think they'll put I do think they have one of their starting corners out there. I think they'll put him on Diggs. But either way, you'll either have Gabe Davis, and if Gabe Davis is not healthy, and again, he's been a full participant in practice all week long, but you can see he hasn't been the same. Gabe Davis has not been the same since week 1. He missed week 2, and then the last 2 weeks we're seeing Gabe drop balls that he just doesn't drop. So that's a very interesting matchup for me. That's one of my key matchups is how that goes, right? And I think we always gave Levi always got a lot of bad press from a lot of fans, but he actually did a very good job for us, especially the last year he was with us. And but here's a chance for us to take advantage. I don't want to say take advantage, but what are your thoughts on that matchup? Because like I said, the pressure on him's got to be extremely high, even for himself. If it was me, I'd be like, man, I'm getting a chance. I'm playing today. This is where I'm going to, show what I can do and set myself up for the future as well. If I have a big game here, oh my goodness, I could get me more playing time.
I think it's a good fit for him with the Steelers because he's definitely more of a zone scheme guy. I think it's a better fit for him here. But with Pittsburgh, they're very aggressive. They like to send it a little bit. They blitz a lot, so their corners do play a lot of zone. So I think for Levi, it's a good position for him to be in. But yeah, I mean, the fact that he's not even their technical starter, you have a guy like Cameron Sutton and then Akello Witherspoon who's played really well, but he's going to be. Did you say he's officially listed out?
Yep.
Akello? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a big test for him. He's basically replacing a guy like that who's played really well this season. So, I think it's a good situation for him. But with our team, I feel like we're going to find that soft spot, and our receivers could have a big day. And you know what's actually interesting? I think Gabe Davis scored our first touchdown last season, and it was against Pittsburgh. So. We'll see if he can get back there. And I know he's been hobbling on 1 foot, but maybe he can get a nice red zone target and score a touchdown today.
Yeah. Hopefully. I'm hoping for sure.
My fingers are crossed.
He says that he's at 100%. He was a full
downplaying it big time.
Of course.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so for me, that was one of the key matchups. The other key matchup you kind of touched on as well, we're kind of on the same page this week, is that offensive line. I want to see that running game. If Aaron Cromer doesn't get something going this week with that run game, I don't know. I'm going to ask for some money back from that dealership for sure. I think with the banged up receiving core, we've got to have a decent run game. At least keep them honest, and then of course Josh Allen will be able to do what he does. That's the one difference that's huge between these two teams. There's a few, but Josh Allen, Kenny Pickett, rookie versus a Josh Allen. Are you kidding me? So again, though, I do want to see, there's a reason why I want to see the run game taken off. And I want it to go back to like it was towards the end of the year last year. I want to see Singletary out there 60%, 70%. And I'm going to show you something here real quick. Just a little stat. Because you and I have a little bet on this.
Yeah, here we go.
So James Cook has 95 total yards through 4 games to Devin Singletary's 270 total yards. I expect to extend that lead even more. So for those that don't know, Jake and I have a little bet at the beginning of the year. We said which running back would have more total yards. Would it be Cook? He took Cook. I took Motor. And Motor's been my guy, and he's proven it again why he's my guy.
Motor's been good. He's been very good.
So, and I think when they've run with him, his runs per carry, his average is pretty damn good. But
yeah,
then
it's over 4 yards a carry.
They seem to be going to the split again, where they try to do, they bring in Zach Moss, and that doesn't go very well. And they're not really running James Cook. So let's just run the ball 70% of the time with Singletary. I do think, here's where, and I'm going to say where you might get some yardage here, Jake. I think this is a good opportunity to use James Cook in the passing game. With all the banged up receivers, this might be a good opportunity for him to get in there and, show off his receiving skills that were highly talked about. One of the reasons we drafted him.
I agree with that. I think it could be a situation where maybe Reggie Gilliam gets a couple looks too, Mike. Just saying. I think we got to use him, find a way to use him in the offense a little bit more. I would love to see Sledge go out there, do a sledgehammer dance after scoring a big touchdown. I think that'd be incredible. So fingers crossed on that one.
So I'll go right into my path to a victory for us, right? I said my path to victory is be efficient on offense like we always are and create some resemblance of a running game utilizing Singletary. I already said I'd like to see Singletary getting more of a 70-30 split. And again, I'd love to hear what the channel thinks about that. I'd love to hear your thoughts afterwards, Jake. And then let's see. And then, of course, by establishing that run game, you're keeping Pittsburgh's defense more honest. They're not just saying, oh, there's no run game here. Let's just go, get some pressure, protect the pass. But if we get some resemblance of a run game, then of course Josh will be able to take advantage of downfield. Now, I do want to ask you this, because that is something else that hasn't seemed to be around the last two weeks. The big plays. The big plays haven't been happening. Every yard we've gotten, Jake, seems to be a struggle. Like there's never anyone with separation. I know some of that is because Gabe is banged up. I mean, they're doubling Diggs. Obviously, we saw Knox. Maybe he's been banged up. I don't know what's happening there, but again, it could be the defensive schemes that are playing us, right? The bend but don't break, which is one of the ways that I think Pittsburgh's going to have to play to beat us. Bend but don't break, just like Miami did. Make us earn every yard. The more plays you make an offensive team go on a drive, the more chance that something goes wrong. And I think that's one of the keys that they're going to have to do for us. But your thoughts on the big plays?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely been the defensive schemes that we've been matching up against. They've been taking away the big plays just because they're sitting these guys back. And so they're giving up all this underneath stuff, which is great. And then they're sending blitzes too. So a lot of times Josh has to go to his check down man, or he's going to, his hot read immediately. It's not this deep play. So unless you get someone on a pump fake or something like that and it becomes a broken play, then I think, I guess a broken scheme for the defense. I think that's the only way we're going to get a big play. A lot of teams have been playing back, basically giving up whatever they want in front. But deep, I mean, everything's covered. So it's been tough for sure.
Yeah, I think we saw that last year a few times.
Yeah.
And I was worried that the blueprint was out there, but somehow we seem to make adjustments and get through that. So going into the path of victory for the Steelers, I think they have to do just what we talked about. They have to play that bend but don't break. We're going to be able to move the ball. I don't have any concern with that, but they're going to have to, once we get inside the 20-yard, the red zone, they're going to have to, buckle down and do just what the Dolphins did. I think that's one of the keys for them. The other key is get their running game going. Najee Harris, they drafted him last year for a reason. He's a stud. Get him going. And that'll take a lot of pressure off of Pickett. And I think they'll come up with some plays to get the ball out of Pickett's hands quickly. We know, like you said, if Pickett has time, I don't think he's going to have a lot of time. So they're going to have to get the ball out of his hands extremely quick. So if they scheme for that, they come up with a game plan where they'll get the ball out. And they have guys, like I said, they're very talented in their skilled positions. And even Najee Harris can catch the ball. He's a good receiving back. So I think you're going to see a lot of short stuff. And it's going to have to be a low-scoring game for them to be able to beat us, but that is the path to victory for them. Your thoughts?
I would say yes, that is definitely one path to victory for them. So I'm going to start with the Steelers. So I think they need to protect Kenny Pickett to allow him to push the ball downfield, because if he has time, I think their receivers can definitely win, especially against their banged-up secondary. So for him, he's a guy that's always looking to push the ball downfield, whereas Mitch Trubisky, total opposite. He's that check-down guy, basically Trent Edwards, just captain check-down. With Kenny, he definitely wants to push the ball downfield. He wants to make those big plays, give his guys to, an opportunity to make a big play on the ball. So I think for them, they need to rely on a big play here and there, and they need to be able to protect him, up front, make sure that he stays clean, because he does have, that's one knock on him, I will say, that a lot of scouts were talking about, is for him, he's had, a lack of protection throughout his career at Pitt. So he gets a little scared sometimes, gets a little hesitant back there in the pocket, and wants to immediately flush out of the pocket. So for him, I think giving him time and allowing him to make those throws, he can definitely be dangerous in that sense. So I think that's a big, key for them to win the game. And then for us, just drop 40 on him. let's win. Let's win this offensive matchup. We got to see something today. As Sean said, it's hard to imagine this game being close. I think it definitely can be, and it probably will be for a little bit. But we've always found a way to finish games, and that's been the story of the year. So I think for us, let's just drop 40. Let's get a big win. Go into KC feeling real confident, and I think Josh has to just be Josh and do his thing.
Yeah, I'd say, it'd be nice to get a nice big lead and be able to rest folks, but who are we going to rest? Because
yeah, right. Exactly.
we got our second and third stringers playing out there. I do laugh at my dad. Anytime we talk about a running game, he has to throw this back at us. And I got to say that, he wanted Breece Hall.
Yeah.
And, not James Cook, and he was very disappointed in that pick. I don't know if he's disappointed because Kyer has played extremely well. That first round pick has been good for us. It's not like, you can't say, no, they made a huge mistake.
And he's going to be tested today. He really is going to be tested. There's no doubt.
Oh, he's going to be tested this week. He's going to be tested next week against Kansas City. Oh, my goodness. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'd have to say Breece Hall's getting the better of the two right now for sure. But it's a different situation. Breece Hall's also getting a lot more playing time. And then, of course, like you said, Red, White, and Bills. Pitt's O-line is awful. Their offense should struggle. True. So we'll see. Again, I don't know. I feel I'm a superstitious guy. And I feel like whenever I predict a blowout like I did for the Jaguars, like I did for the Bills in the opener against the Steelers, it always backfires against me. But we're at that time of the show where we give our predictions. I love everyone in the channel who's still there. If you're new to the channel, comment, share our content out to others, and of course, drop a nickel on our subscribe button. But Jake, let me start with you. Talk to me about your prediction. You already say put up 40, but let me hear what your true predictions are.
So I don't think we're gonna drop 40. I think we will drop 30 though. So my thought is, well, do we drop 30? I think we're gonna go about. I think it's gonna be 28 points. I think that's the magic number for me. Is it going to be a 14-point win though? I don't see it being that. I think it's going to be relatively close to start. And then, like every game this year, we're going to sort of take off, minus the Ravens game last week. But, we were a second-half team. We're a second-half team. When it comes down to it, sure. I think we are a second-half team. I feel like it's going to be a 28-17 win for the Bills. I hate betting the under. Dana, appreciate you joining, man. I don't – what is the total point spread set at? I hate betting the under, but I might have to bet it this time around. I got to see what that is. I'm curious.
All right, take a look. For me, I do not think we cover the 14. I do think we 14 and a half, actually. It depends when you got in on it. So I think right now it's got to be 14. I know at one point it was 14 and a half. I'm going to say the Bills win this 27-14. So they win by 13. We do take over the second half. Look at the teams. I mean, the Bills defense have played some really, really good offensive teams, and we've done a stellar job, even with all the injuries that we've had. So again, I don't think this is a drop of 40 on them at all. I think maybe 30, but I'm going to go 27-14.
I love it. By the way, it's 44.5, so we're still hitting the over, baby. Life's too short to bet the under, Dana. Hit the over, hammer it. I love it.
That's kind of it. Jake, we're kind of we got through everything. I just want to throw it over to you. And again, I do want to remind people too that we have a Discord channel. Love for you to join our Discord channel. It's in the description of this show. Just go there, just join it. Once you join, you actually, I think a lot of people get confused. I've seen a lot of people join, but they don't come over to the Bills thread and say anything. And I know some are there for the Bills. But there's 3 threads that we offer in our Discord, which is super helpful if you're into fantasy football. We have a fantasy football show that we do. It's been on vacation for the past last week or this week and next week because one of the guys
I think
got
they're
married.
Scared to wear those Bills.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. By the way, we are looking forward to that. We had a bet with those guys. These are 2 guys that do our fantasy football show. They're both Baltimore Ravens. They're both from Baltimore. They lost. The bet was whichever team lost, they'd have to wear the winning team's gear. So, like, if we would have lost, we would have had to wear some Ravens, Ravens gear this week, and we don't. But next time they do the show, they have to be sporting some Bills gear, which is going to be fun. But anyhow, they're on vacation. Chris got married this past week, and you'll see them back. But if you go to our Discord channel and you want some fantasy football information, put your questions in the fantasy football thread and they'll answer it. We're monitoring that all the time. We also have the Buffalo Bills thread. Join us there. Jake and I are monitoring that. We want it. We love the interaction we have there. And then we have, if you're into golf, DraftKings Golf, betting golf, we have a thread there. So 3 threads. If you join the Discord, just click the link. It's super easy to join. If you're not familiar with this with Discord, it's just a simple little chat program. And hit up Jake, hit up myself, and we'll tell you how to get that installed. It runs on your mobile device, runs on your computer, so all kinds of ways. Jake, I'm going to throw it to you. Your closing thoughts for today.
Closing thoughts are let's hit the over, first off. Love that. Secondly, let's not get too overconfident going into this game, and let's play above expectations. I think a lot of people are in the same boat as us, Mike, where we feel like it could be a trap game. So let's go out there and prove ourselves wrong, first off, and I'm just excited to watch Josh Allen play football again. I mean, there's nothing more fun. After watching that Colts game the other night, the Colts-Broncos game, I mean, that was it was like watching paint dry. And listen, there's no one in this world outside. I mean, I am all about it. I'm all about the defensive battle. I'm all about, every inch counts and all that stuff. I'm very old school in that sense, but I'll tell you, I was even a little like, okay, this is bad football. This is really bad football. Now, credit to Bradley Chubb. He had a monster day, but man, I mean, how lucky are we to have Josh Allen? It's like watching any other game outside of the Bills and maybe a select few others. It's like painful to watch any other offense try to do something. It's wild.
Speaking of that, I want to get your take on that. I watched that game as well. I think I had a showdown DraftKings lineup going, so I was paying special attention to it.
Yeah.
But Russell Wilson, man, $245 million man.
Woof.
Looking bad. I don't know. What do you think's going on there? Is obviously he's not in sync with his offensive coordinator. It's not looking good for him. I thought some of the plays towards the end of the game on the 4th down and they had 4th and 1 at the or 4th and goal at the 3, and they just drop them back and don't roll out. I don't know. What's your thoughts there, real quick? I wanted to get your take on Russell Wilson and his struggles.
I've never seen a man's reputation assassinated like overnight as bad as Russell Wilson's has been. I mean, it's crazy. I think Russell's he's a very good football player, but there's a lot going on there, and he is not like, it's almost like he's hesitant. And I think part of that is coaching with Nathaniel Hackett. We saw what he did here in Buffalo, and we had a great running game, but that was about it. We didn't have anything else. And that's the same deal in Denver. I mean, they have a pretty decent running game for the most part. I don't care who you put back there, whether it's Mike Boone, Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon has fumbling issues, but I think they're good in that sense. But otherwise, I mean, Russell has to put the game on his shoulders and eventually make a play here. It just wasn't happening and hasn't been happening this entire year. So I don't know what's going on there. He's got to figure it out, though. It's time for him to step it up. It's not just Nathaniel Hackett. You can't put everything on him.
Yeah, I totally agree there. And so for me, closing thoughts, let's get a win here. We will be back right after the game to do our post-game show, and then we'll talk a little bit about that upcoming match against KC. Hopefully it's a celebration post-game show, which I expect it to be. But again, I do not think it's going to be. I think it'll be close. We seem to be very close in the first half. And then, like you said, we're a second half team. So they'll give me a little bit of, they'll get the heart going a little bit in the first half. I might be a little like, what's going on here? And then I don't know what they talk about or what they do at halftime, but they always seem to turn it around. And then we'll come out and I think we'll keep them. I think I'm going to say we'll keep them scoreless again in the second half. Seems to be our theme for a lot of teams. We kept the Rams scoreless in the second half. We kept the Ravens scoreless in the second half, which is still boggles my mind how that's possible. But and I think we can do the same here. So I think it's close first half. And again, 27.
It's hard to imagine them scoring 17 points. I'll be honest with you, but
it's true.
Like, we didn't think that about any of the other teams who played either. I mean, even the Titans still put up somewhat of a, they tried at least. I mean, right off the bat, it was 7-7. They kind of kept it close. But I don't know. It's like our defense is unbelievable. And I think the points per game thing is sort of skewed a little bit too. Because the last few games, I mean, we've given up 20-plus points, which I don't think the offense has played that great where they're able to really show, that they were worthy of that 20 points or anything like that, but a couple of dumb mistakes. Field position obviously plays into effect. There's just a lot of things that you got to factor in. So I think our defense is better than what's even being showed on the stat sheet. But it's just a matter of a couple of different circumstances for us that kind of change things. So I'm going to still give the Steelers 17 points today, even though I don't love it.
Yeah, I don't know if I might have said 17 there. My actual prediction is 27-14.
Yeah, you said 14. Yeah.
14.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, remember last year when they beat us, it was a special teams play for a touchdown, right? Things can happen. We've given up the ball. I can recall the Dolphin game. We got, strip sack at our own 7. So something like that could potentially happen to give them an easy touchdown. But you're right. Why would I expect them to put up more than 14 when good, really, really good teams have had a hard time putting up points? But again, I think it'll be close. Tomlin will fire his team up. I think it'll be, it'll impress us in the first half. We're like, damn, here we go again, struggling. But we'll get it turned around and we'll celebrate. So I'll see all of you on the post game. Looking forward to that. And again, thank you all for joining us. Greatly appreciate it. Again, like, comment, and drop a nickel on that subscribe button. We'll see you soon. Go Bills.
Go Bills.